delighted to be here talking to Junde Yu from Kobo here in Singapore. Welcome, JD.
Thank you, David. Happy to be here too.
So terrific to talk to you today. We're going to talk about some of the latest trends from the crypto scene here in Singapore. But first of all, it'd be great to hear a little bit about your background and the company here, Kobo.
Hi, so my name is Junde, or you can also call me JD. So I started back then in the internet industry, then went on to the mobile web industry, and then mobile apps, software and big data industries. And I also went into crypto as a retail investor in 2017. So all this while, I've worked with lots of digital companies turning digital, as well as investors investing in digital. So today I am the VP of Sales at Kobo, where I manage the international business here.
Fantastic. And the scene in Singapore in crypto and digital assets seems very exciting. There's a lot of activity. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about how you see it. What activity is going on here?
There's a lot of activity, mainly in the B2B and enterprise activity, because this is what our government encourages a lot of, and also a lot of activity for investments. I mean, Singapore has always been a rather stable and, might I add, a neutral environment here. So we're able to attract talent, attract funds from all over the world. Okay. And in terms of business activity, the government has been very welcoming of a lot of blockchain-related innovations. So we've attracted a lot of crypto exchanges, crypto startups as well. And recently we held two big events. One was the Token 2049 and also Singapore FinTech Festival.
Okay, and perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about the specific services that Kobo provide, both on the institutional side and to high net worth clients.
Great. So mainly we provide custody technology. We are Asia Pacific's biggest custodian here, with billions in assets under custody and trusted by over 300 institutions. We have two main products. One would be the centralized custody, and we're licensed in 4 jurisdictions. Centralized custody of digital assets, meaning we hold your private keys safe, and we also hold your assets safe. Okay, and this, we have never been hacked before. In fact, there's news of one exchange that got hacked recently, Deribit. They also use our product. We also hold one of the hot wallets for them, but our wallet was not hacked. In fact, it happened at around 1 a.m. Singapore time. We were all sleeping, but our system automatically detected the anomaly and pushed back the withdrawal request. So Deribit's funds with us was safe. They were safe. Okay, so that's our centralized, licensed custody of digital assets. Where we see the industry growing, especially in blockchain, is all these things about Web3 and decentralization. We see a lot more in the development of self-custodial technology. Okay, in that you are able to enjoy all the features of security, of workflow, of efficiency, and engagement with the whole world of decentralized apps. But at the same time, you still hold your own keys and assets. So that's what we are pushing a lot towards, building custody technology. Aside from custody as a service, technology that allows you to operate your business efficiently and holding your own assets safely.
The custody piece is very important for contacts I speak to on the legal side and the fiduciary world, particularly in Europe, where a lot of our members are. I mean, you can provide this custody service on a global basis if you're able to help work with high net worth clients they might be looking at, to give them that comfort that the custodian piece is properly looked after.
Right. We work with both high net worth as well as lots of funds, as well as any company in blockchain that has a treasury of digital assets.
Okay, very interesting. And just in terms of the overall ecosystem here in Singapore, there's many parts of the sort of value chain in crypto and digital assets. We just discussed the custody piece, but what other aspects do you see as being active and buoyant?
Back in those days, I think a few years ago, when there were a lot of ICOs, because ICOs, that's how you originate, right? So there's lots of consulting companies that help to take a look at your white paper, to help you take a look at your token metrics and advise how this could be better. There are people who could be influencers to help you set up your initial fan following, your Telegram following, Twitter following, and so on. There's also, of course, the lawyers that come and tell you, okay, provide opinion on whether this is security or not. All these things to get you started. And once you have ICO, or actually before your ICO, most of them will also need to engage with exchanges to provide the immediate liquidity after they go ICO, as well as market makers, because that's very important to make sure you have your token pricing goes off to a solid start. Okay. And once you are done with that stage, I mean, you have a lot of funds to secure. That definitely, custodians come in as well. I mean, to secure your funds, but also help you interact with the entire ecosystem in a very safe and secure manner, efficient manner as well. Then, of course, then also you have all these exchanges and trading solutions, with advanced trading options, or also those that help you consolidate liquidity. So all these services are available, to the entire industry.
And in terms of the types of clients you're seeing, particularly on the high net worth side, is it the case that it is a younger, different style of client that's coming forward, or, as I'm seeing in Europe, more established families with wealth in real estate and businesses are allocating a certain amount of wealth to this asset class because they see the potential for growth? What's your customer demographics like, if you will?
I think that it falls in two areas. One would be the high net worth people who are slightly older, and then they are advised by their financial advisors to allocate some part of this to digital assets because it's an upcoming asset class. And we also see some interesting stuff, not so much high net worth, but between high net worth and family offices, where they allocate, where they ask one of their grandsons or granddaughters to, hey, take a look at this. And then their grandsons and granddaughters are running this piece because they are most in touch with the whole space, and including NFTs as well. And you can say they are at the right generation where they don't just understand the market dynamics, but they actually understand the technology, understand the underlying technology, and not just how to hold Bitcoin and ETH, but also other tokens and how they engage with the ecosystem, especially DeFi, to make even more yield. So that's what we see happening. But outside of high net worth, what I see that's really encouraging, in a recent trip to the US, and I also see this in some parts of Singapore and other developed countries in Asia Pacific, I see young kids like between 8 to 12 years old. They know how to use MetaMask. They know how to mint NFTs. And their parents don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I mean, you mentioned their family offices. I mean, it's when I've been meeting with people in Singapore this week talking about the growth of family office here, I guess they're a good partner for you because they need the custody, the sophisticated solutions you can provide. Are you starting to see family offices allocating assets and you're working with them as a partner?
Yes, that's true. And actually, there's one company just downstairs from us, they're called Raffles, Raffles Family Office, and they have a new unit called Revo, R-E-V-O, and they are getting into this in a huge way and working with a lot of other family offices to help them get into digital assets.
Okay, interesting. And there's a lot of headlines this week in the press about falling valuation on Bitcoin. I mean, how do you see that playing through into the business that you're running around custody and other services? Is it dampening down activity, or what's the outlook?
We've always had an outlook that is beyond the immediate 6 or 12 months, because if you talk to the longer term investors in this space, everyone's looking at what's going to happen in the next bull market. And in the meantime being this 6 to 12 or even 24 months, we think that everything is going to be following the shape of the macro economy. So your inflation rates, your interest rates, your public equity and all that. Of course, with recent events, this brought crypto and crypto prices down at the leg. So that was not expected. And we possibly in the near term, there could be more downside, because just this morning, we saw that, okay, it's not just FTX, but even BlockFi halted withdrawals. And there may, over the next few days, there may be more companies that say that we're in trouble. So this could last for a while. But we still think that the long-term fundamentals are still good for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for the ecosystem. We will still do well when the next cycle comes back.
Yeah, because you're focusing on the technology, on the custody piece. There will be an evolution in the market, but your core business is not linked to the value of the underlying asset necessarily.
Yeah, especially what we see on all developments on Ethereum. I mean, all this recent developments on account abstraction, making it much easier for users to use wallets, because most retail users don't know how to manage the private key and seed phrases. They get phished and hacked most because of that. So there's a lot of changes that's upcoming to this, a lot of programmability to the ecosystem, a lot of cross-chain activity happening. And that's basically, in these 2 years, a lot of the good companies will be building quietly with not too much price distraction, because everyone knows it's a bear market anyway.
Okay, interesting. And just zooming out a little bit and looking at the broader concepts of the digital economy, the metaverse being developed. I mean, what's your view on how we'll see that develop and how it'll change our lives?
I have mixed views on this. I come from gaming. Previously, I was head of global gaming at Data AI, which is a global leading market analytics company for mobile apps. And so I've been exposed to lots of games and such. Okay, so two things. Metaverse as a concept, if you look at games like Minecraft and Roblox, they're huge. Even when their stock prices are crushed, the user activity, their user-generated revenues and content, it's still going up. And if you look at the demographic of people playing them, they're usually children. My 7-year-old daughter plays Roblox, and I bought avatar for her. I bought clothes for her to dress up in Roblox. So, but that's that age segment. Do you see adults playing? Do you see ourselves playing Minecraft, Roblox? There are some, but not that many. These guys play other shooting games and war games and mobile games and stuff. Then you look at the major metaverses in blockchain for now. Most of them are not targeting children. Most of them are targeting crypto-savvy teens and adults. Do crypto-savvy teens and adults, can they adapt to this metaverse kind of lifestyle? I would say, I hope they can, because it will be a huge industry. My only take is, or advice for anyone looking at this would be not to just look at the trading volume and the price of all these metaverse tokens, but to look at the daily users, the retention of these users. These are all Web2 metrics that I used to work with a lot, and I still think they apply in a huge way for Web3 games, Web3 metaverse. Web3 games, on the other hand, I think they're a lot more digestible for the general retail gamer, but because they're just mobile games, except that you have an NFT or you have a token in it. Okay, of course, having a token in it makes it a little bit more of a onboarding challenge, because you need to understand how to operate a wallet, how to get gas and all these things. But NFT is easier. But Metaverse is not really a game. Metaverse is walking around, looking at McDonald's. And then walking into a Tesla or Metaverse. What do I do with this? I think we're still early stages. The technology is good, but the use cases and why do I need to visit Metaverse McDonald's again why do I need to have a repeat visit? Why can't I just order from my Grab app here? These are questions to be thought about.
Fascinating. And I mean, the e-gaming sector and activity here, it's an industry you've been part of here. Do you see it as buoyant and Singapore being, thriving as a jurisdiction for that kind of sector?
So when people talk about gaming in Singapore, people think of two companies. First one would be Razer. They're huge for, coming up with all kinds of gaming equipment. So they are one of the biggest names here, for gaming, but they mainly focus on hardware equipment and a little bit of software, I guess, and also going a little bit into gaming currency. And the other huge company here would be C Group, and which they have a huge gaming arm called Garena. And so they've had a few huge worldwide titles like Free Fire, and also distribute some of the biggest mobile games in this region as well. But to be honest, Singapore is still a relatively small-sized market. So aside from these companies, we also have a lot of GameFi companies from North Asia coming here to issue tokens, because that's why it's a more friendly environment for in terms of regulations for them to issue tokens. But outside of this, Singapore is not the biggest country in the world.
There's not much space much as elsewhere, yeah.
But if I expand this to Southeast Asia, I would say if you're looking at gaming activity, Vietnam has incredible growth. They started off maybe 10 years ago, maybe doing a lot of outsourcing work. These days, maybe past 5 years, they have been developing the local industry. There are huge companies like VNG, Amanotes. Amanotes is huge globally for their music games. They chose a very specific niche, music games. And also another company, OneSoft, pretty big as well. And a lot of these Vietnamese companies, because they started from outsourcing, they're very development heavy. And also have experience developing their own games. Now, a lot of them are actually going to Web3 because they are developing country. Developing country, there's the governments, their stance, regulations towards crypto are generally slightly more relaxed compared to developed countries.
And where do the high-earning teams live? So those high-earning people in e-gaming, are there parts of Asia that they flock to, or it's sort of...
It depends on which growth stage. I think when they are at an early growth stage, they want to reside close to the teams, and also reside, and the teams could be where it scales, like in a place like, let's say, China or Vietnam or other developing countries where there's lots of talent. You could hire lots of people. I think, I recall, China is not cheap right now, but an engineer in China, at Beijing, still costs like 1/3 of the price of an engineer in San Francisco, assuming of the same quality as well. So if your growth stage, you want to be somewhere where your engineering can scale and you want to be close there. And maybe once they've made their money, they want to be in a place where there's low tax. Yeah.
And travel plans are now back on the agenda. Looking forward to 2023. Where are some of the locations you're interested to head to, the big conferences that are coming up? Where would people find you next year?
So I would want to go to the major blockchain and fintech events globally, especially in the major financial centers. But I'm also very keen to check out the scene in lots of developing countries.
And there was a fintech conference last week here in Singapore. Was there any sort of headlines or innovation that you thought is particularly exciting and interesting in the sector coming out of that conference, or just good to see people back together and engaging again?
It was more of the latter, good to see people, and because I was busy at our booth all that while. But I could say that the Singapore FinTech Festival, which just happened a couple of weeks ago, it was pretty well managed because there was less volume traffic of users, of attendees compared to the Token 2049, which happened I think a month ago. But it was a lot more, at least for us, it was more B2B, more higher quality traffic, higher quality in terms of business generation. Token 2049 was both B2B and B2C. So you had lots of wild parties, lots of influencers, lots of B2C tokens and stuff.
Well, JD, look, fantastic to talk to you today. I encourage anyone watching this interview who is looking at the custody piece on crypto to reach out.
Thank you, David. My pleasure.
The latest technical content delivered through global conversations with professionals for professionals.